Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, Attorney Kim Hegwood with Hegwood Law Group, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest, Dr. Blanche Hayden. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here with you.
And me too, because we have a lot of clients that, Medicare is a mystery. And so always having someone that can give, good advice and talk to, clients about, the things they need to know. And sometimes, especially when, parents have, dementia, there's even more things that you need to know. And so let's talk about kind of like the first things. And so if mom or dad has dementia and I need to talk to you about what Medicare they're on, changing their Medicare, what do you need from me as far as to allow me to do that?
Yeah. The first thing is, and I'm going to start by saying that my mother had dementia, and at a time when I knew nothing about Medicare.
Yeah.
So I learned along the way. And the first thing that you need to have in order to speak to me as an agent is legal authority. And it would be certainly handy to get that before dementia is really deep in the woods. Sometimes you can get it, and of course, are going to correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but there's legal capacity and mental capacity, and someone can be in the start of dementia and still be able to give permission because they kind of know what's going on. Okay, that's, if not before that, that's the best time to have it, because at some point they're not able to give permission for someone to have a power of attorney. You would want to get a durable power of attorney, perhaps medical power of attorney. And those are the typical things that people are aware of and think of. There's one form that most people don't know about, and I'm going to get the name of it because I don't want to misrepresent the name. It's a Medicare authorization to disclose personal health information.
Oh, good.
Without that form, Medicare will not talk to you. I don't care if you're a spouse or a husband. I had to sign that form for them to talk to me about my husband, and he doesn't have dementia. It was a billing question, and they wouldn't talk to me on the phone with him on the phone with me. So we had to send that form in. So for anything to do with Medicare, two things: you need legal power, and you need that Medicare authorization to disclose personal health information.
And
So critical to have that if you're going to help your parents with their senior insurances.
that's good to know. And so there's so many options out there. So, how do you know what kind of plan your parent may have already? And in the options as far as because I had to learn some of this stuff the hard way too. As far as the differences between your supplements and your advantage, because you hear pros and cons of each.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as silly as it sounds, because I mentioned my mother had dementia, and the first thing I did was I went in her purse. And I bet you my mother had every card she's ever had in her whole life in her purse. And I was able to find her Medicare card and every other card she had at that time. So that would be the first place to start. Um, the Advantage plans are always going to have an effective date because they can change from year to year. Supplement plans, as long as you pay your bills, your premiums, you can keep the same card forever. And the same thing with Medicare. So it's critical to know what's effective. The next more appropriate way, other than digging through your mom's purse, is going to mymedicare.gov, which is going to take you into a login page. Now, the issue with that is you need to have a login. So if you can have conversations with your parents ahead of time where they're going to share this information with you, it's going to make it a lot easier, because once you log into mymedicare.gov and the URL, the domain name is going to change. it's going to tell you what plans your parent is enrolled in. Okay. The third option, if you can't figure out the login, is to call 1-800-Medicare. They're going to want to have that Medicare form, that authorization on file. And if you don't have that, you can, with power of attorney, apply for that form, but you're going to have to submit your power of attorney, your legal representation. And Medicare then will be able to help you and tell you what plans your parent is on. Those are pretty much the ways to go about it. And if you can have those conversations ahead of time and look and see what cards they have, that'll be the best way to help your parent. Now, as far as the types of plans, Medicare originally was, they call it original Medicare or traditional Medicare, has Part A and Part B. Part A was hospital coverage, inpatient hospital care, skilled nursing, hospice, things like that. And Part B is the doctor stuff, medical coverage. Excuse me, I have that allergy thing going on. So Part B is outpatient care, diagnostic testing, equipment, doctors. They each have costs associated with them. I was very naive, and most people, I think, going through life paying those FICA taxes, you think, oh, Medicare is going to pay everything. No, it doesn't. Part A has a deductible when you go in the hospital, and eventually, if you stay there long enough, a daily copay. Part B has a small annual deductible. This year is $233, but then it has a 20% copay, which can get quite large depending on the surgeries, and there's no cap. That 20% goes forever. So as years went by and healthcare got more expensive, Medicare started creating things to make things more affordable. The first one they did was they created a Medicare supplement plan, and it's known as a Medigap because it fills in the gaps. So it's going to pay that hospital deductible. It's going to pay the daily copays if it gets to be that long of a stay. It's going to pay the Part B 20%. Okay, right now it won't pay that little deductible, but it'll pay that Part B 20%, which is a blessing. Okay, and one of the benefits of staying with original Medicare with a Medigap plan is it's good in all 50 states. It doesn't require referrals as long as a doctor accepts Medicare assignment. If you live in Houston and you want to go to the Cleveland Clinic or Johns Hopkins or anywhere for care, you don't need anyone's permission. You get on the phone, you ask if they accept Medicare, and you go. Okay? No referrals, no permission. If you're somebody that likes to get in the RV and travel around, that would be the way to go. All right? The other plan that Medicare created over time, because they wanted to lower their own costs, was a Medicare Advantage plan. That's known as Part C. And the Medicare Advantage plan is run by private insurance companies. It's managed care. They basically take over the federal government's duties that they had when they ran Medicare. So they run everything. They have a network of doctors. And depending on if you have an HMO or a PPO, you have to stay within that network, and it's more affordable to stay within the network. A PPO allows you to go outside the network, but you're going to pay more for that. Okay. The problem with managed care is that they have to give permissions. They are usually based around where you live. So if you wanted to go to a doctor in another state or area because they are the expert for what's wrong with you, you may not always be able to do that. Okay. So it takes away choices. All right. Now, if you're somebody that is a homebody, you've grown up with employer group plans that are managed care, you find a plan that the doctor you've been seeing for years is in that plan, you may be perfectly happy with an Advantage plan. Now, what's the advantage to an Advantage plan? The Advantage plan has a cap.
Yeah.
It has an annual cap. And Medicare adjusts it every year. This year it's $7,550. So the most you would pay over time if something really bad goes wrong with you is $7,550. The problem is if you paid that in the fourth quarter of the year and you still have things going on in the first quarter of the next year, you're hit with another $7,550.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a financial risk. Now, why is somebody going to pick a Medigap plan versus an Advantage plan or vice versa? Medigap plans have premiums. And depending on where you live in the country, they can be more expensive. States like New Mexico, Texas, we're on the lower end of the scale. And premium for a Medigap plan might be in the $100 range. East Coast, New York, Florida, you might be in the $400 or $500 a month range. Okay, it's varies throughout the country. Now, a premium for many Advantage plans is zero. There are some with more benefits that might have a little bit higher premium, but you've got that $7,550 you always have to keep in your back pocket, because a friend of mine once said, "What is it about turning 65 when everything starts going wrong?" Well, a lot of people don't go to the doctor till they get on Medicare because they figure Medicare is going to pay for everything. You start getting looked at, they start finding things. Okay. So I liken the Medigap premium to renters, homeowners insurance, car insurance. You pay that premium every month, whether you have a crash or your roof breaks up or your house floods. You pay it every month, whether anything goes wrong. Now, when something goes wrong, you've got your coverage. The Medigap premium is something you can budget for. You know, every month you're going to pay that XYZ dollar amount. And with the Medigap plan, depending on the plan, that might be all you pay, except for that small Part B deductible. An Advantage plan, it's hard to budget. You might have a couple of months, you're very healthy, you're paying zero. And the next thing you know, you're in the hospital and you're getting copays and coinsurances that you didn't plan on. So it's harder to budget for. So it's you're you're playing a game. You're betting on what can go wrong. And we none of us have a crystal ball. We don't know. We can't predict. So there's pros and cons to each, and that's something that I would sit down with someone and go over their lifestyle, their medical needs, potentially based on maybe family history, and their financial needs. And there's no right answer for everybody. It's not a one size fits all.
So a lot of people assume that Medicare is going to pay for skilled nursing.
Yes and no. Okay. So here's what's been going on with that. In 1965, when Medicare started, they had what's called a 2 midnight rule. And a lot of people call it a 3-day rule. And what that meant was that you had to be an inpatient in the hospital for 3 days at least, not counting the day you're being released, in order for Medicare to pay for skilled nursing care. And you have to go into skilled nursing care within 30 days of being released from the hospital. So, what happened over time is that Medicare, I mean, everybody has a budget, right? They are always looking for ways to decrease their expenses. Hospitals get paid less if you go in under observation than they get paid as if you're an inpatient care. So they have been very strongly over the years encouraging hospitals to put people in first as under observation, because sometimes you have a surgery and they just want to make sure you're okay overnight and then they send you home. Other times you do need to be inpatient, but the problem is that they have the ability to change you from inpatient to observation care while you're still in the hospital or even after you left the hospital. So if you're under observation care, that's Part B. That's the outpatient doctor stuff with that 20% copay, coinsurance. Okay. Part A pays for skilled nursing, Part B does not. So if you haven't had those 3 days of inpatient care and you go to skilled nursing facility care and you're expecting to have coverage and you go in there, you're going to get hit with a nice big bill in the mail. Okay, that's the problem. And people are not always aware of that. They're going to give you a form, Moon. And I'm going to again look at my paper. It's the Medicare Outpatient Observation Notice. And they're going to have you sign that while you're in the middle of being in the hospital when all kinds of stuff is going on. They're probably poking needles in your arm and they're asking you to sign something. And you have the right at that time to call your doctor up, talk to the hospital doctor, and have them appeal and explain to the hospital why you need to be categorized as inpatient care. Now, they may or may not change that, but you have the right to request that. So what happened over years is many people were hit with that. They got put in first as inpatient and they got switched to observation, and they got hit with nursing home, skilled nursing care bills. So just recently, January 25th of this year, a court case that had been pending for over 10 years, they upheld the ruling, and it's the Barrows versus Becerra lawsuit. And people now have the right, if they were inpatient, switched to observation, they have the right to appeal to Medicare to have their skilled nursing bills paid.
That's good.
And that's a wonderful thing. Now, if you've always been observation and go take yourself to a skilled nursing facility care, you can't appeal that. You're going to have to be paying out of pocket for that skilled nursing care. So you want to be aware of what you're signing. You want to be aware of the ability to call your doctor and say, hey, we discussed that I'm going to need some care after surgery. Let's get this fixed.
Yeah, most definitely. And so, well, Dr. Hayden, we're out of time for today. So what we want to do is hopefully schedule you again to kind of keep up with, do this some more.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a lot more information, it sounds like, that you can give us. And so
I could talk for hours.
we want to do that. So tell our listeners how they get a hold of you now. If they wanted to talk prior to us doing this again, how do they find you?
Sure. I'm actually licensed in 8 states, and Texas is one of those. My website is compassionateinsurancesolutions.com. My email is blanche@compassionateins.com. I tried to make it less letters to type. And my number is 505-900-4519. And I'm happy to answer questions from anybody. And I just want to let people know, as a licensed agent, we are licensed in every state we sell in. We have to train and pass classes and tests to become licensed. And every year we have to be certified and take more classes from Medicare and all the carriers we work with to sell Advantage plans and drug plans. It doesn't cost anything to work with us or to talk to us. The carriers pay us a commission, and the premium doesn't change. It doesn't, just because you work with us doesn't mean you pay a higher premium. You pay the same premium, and we're all passionate about helping people as they get older make the right decisions for the long term.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Dr. Hayden. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcast as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.